Lockean property versus high bidder allocation, a game-theoretic comparison. Introduction. Property systems determine how societies allocate scarce resources. Two contrasting frameworks dominate the debate. The Lockean system, in which ownership arises from first possession or labor mixing, and the high bidder system, in which property goes to the agent willing to bid the most. Using classical game theory, we can model the efficiency of these systems, evaluate their equilibria, and determine which is better for society. 1. Lockean property, historical rights and inefficiency. In a Lockean framework, ownership is fixed by historical claims. Suppose player A homesteads a parcel of land, and player B arrives later but can use it more productively. If A's productivity is 5 units and B's is 10, the Lockean system still allocates the property to A. Payoffs: A equals 5, B equals 0. Total equals 5. This equilibrium is Pareto inferior because reallocating the property to B would increase total output without making anyone worse off in principle. Yet the Lockean system blocks such a transfer unless A voluntarily sells. If A refuses, resources remain underused. From a game-theoretic perspective, Lockean rules artificially constrain the action space, creating equilibria where productive strategies are excluded. Enforcement costs also rise. Society must continually police historical right, even against challengers who would generate higher output. 2. High bidder property, efficiency through competition. By contrast, the high bidder system treats property as an ongoing auction. Each player bids up to the value they expect to generate. A values the property at 5, B values it at 10. B can bid just above 5, win the property, and still gain net surplus. Payoffs: B5, A equals 0. Total equals 10. This equilibrium is Pareto superior. Resources flow to the highest productivity user, and society's total output rises. In repeated play, competition ensures that inefficient holders cannot retain control, because more productive bidders will always outcompete them. 3. Opportunity costs and hidden losses. An important refinement is opportunity cost. In the Lockean system, even apparently profitable ventures may be destructive if the property could yield much higher returns elsewhere. A farmer earning 5 units looks productive on paper, but if another could earn 10, the true social loss is 5, invisible under Lockean accounting. The high bidder system internalizes this cost, because bidders must pay enough to reflect the foregone productivity of rivals. 4. Enforcers' business strategies. The choice of property system also translates into strategic models for enforcement firms. Under a Lockean system, enforcers sell a defensive service, protecting historical rights regardless of productivity. Their profit model depends on charging owners to maintain exclusion, even when those owners are less efficient. This creates perverse incentives. Enforcement becomes a subsidy for unproductive holders, and firms must escalate costs to fend off higher productivity challengers. Under a high bidder system, enforcers operate like auctioneers and insurers. Their revenue comes from facilitating transfers to the highest bidder and protecting those contracts. This aligns their interests with productivity. The more efficiently property is allocated, the greater the surplus they can extract in fees. Enforcement firms thus become partners in efficiency, rather than guardians of stagnation. In game-theoretic terms, enforcement firms choose strategies based on expected profitability. In repeated play, it is more profitable to align with the high bidder equilibrium, because inefficient Lockean enforcement produces mounting opportunity costs and rising conflict that erode revenues. 5. Societal implications. Lockean property leads to underutilization, entrenched privilege, high enforcement costs, and an enforcement industry structurally incentivized to protect inefficiency. High bidder property maximizes adaptive efficiency, accounts for opportunity costs, and incentivizes enforcers to facilitate productive reallocations rather than obstruct them. In classical game theory, equilibria in the high bidder system dominate those in the Lockean system. Over time, rational players and enforcement firms face incentives to bypass Lockean rules, because the market's payoff structure favors productive reallocations. Conclusion: society prospers when property gravitates toward its most productive users. Classical game theory demonstrates that the high bidder system achieves this outcome, while Lockean property often locks society into Pareto inferior equilibria. Crucially, the enforcement industry itself is reshaped. Under Lockean rules, enforcers defend inefficiency, while under high bidder rules, they profit from maximizing efficiency. For this reason, the market is so efficient it eventually bypasses Lockean property, reallocating resources to where they yield the greatest evolutionary and societal benefit.